scissors too. But what's important and special is that edge there. And what that does is it makes it so things don't fray. This was a commonly used technique in the olden days. They actually had little machines that did this, that you could like run lots of trim through like, you know, we're talking 1500s, 1400s, 1600s, things like that. And then up in the later days, they made scissors for it. You'll see it really common on vintage garments. So that is the two options that we have for those seam finishes. So I'm going to turn this right side in. And the reason for it is we want to fold to the inside when we do this waistband. So here's, oh, as I hit myself in the face. All right, so here's what we're going to be doing here. First, we're going to pretend this edge is not finished and that we do need to finish it and make a pretty enclosed edge. So I'm going to come over here. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to fold this under just the amount that it is serged. It's about 1/4 of an inch. And we're going to press that the whole way around. Now we're pressing it to the inside, which is going to, of course, make it go to the inside, because what we're going to do is fold this over twice. So the first one is just enough to get it, you know what, I'm going to scooch the sewing machine and come over here a little bit so you guys can see better. I was thinking that would work, but I think you guys need to see this up close, how I do this. Alright, let's see what you guys can see here if I move some things around. Alright, Mr. Sewing Machine, you go there momentarily, you go here, there we go. Alright, now you guys can see what I'm doing. There we go. So I am simply folding this under, and then I am going to wake my iron up. I have filled my iron up with water. I have it at a pretty warm setting. I have it, actually I'm going to move that camera back over there just a second because it does appear that we need to make this look just a little bit, you guys are going to see me a little bit more. Sorry about that. Alternate camera setup, gotta test it out. It's interesting. All right, move the sewing machine over. Turn it off so I don't make any boo-boos. All right, so I've turned the iron on. I have now gotten it warmed up. I have it set to a 2, which I know I've tested that works on this fabric. I also have the steam on. We are going to start with steam, and then we will take the steam off. This particular iron that I'm using is a Tefal iron. It is actually recommended to me by a very amazing friend who is a very long time costumer, and she told me to get this iron. First, I didn't believe her that this iron was like everything, but yeah, it's iron is everything. So we're going to, it's $38 if you buy the 1700 watt on Amazon. It's about $45 if you buy the 1800 watt. It is one of the cheapest irons you can buy that does, I mean, it is the only iron you will ever need. So first I am pressing this. So it means when I move this iron, I know you guys can't see it. I'm going to be very extreme about it. I'm actually picking it up and moving it, picking it up and moving it. Now, I'm going to turn my heat off. So the steam relaxes, then we turn the steam off, and it'll help the fibers tighten up a little. Now, I'm going to let it cool for a second, and as soon as it's cooled enough to move, we're going to go ahead and do this the whole way around. So this gives us an enclosed edge. Now, with this serging, I technically wouldn't have to do this. I could technically have just used the serged edge, but I wanted to show you guys what you would do if you did not have a serger. It also just makes for a really handsome, really pretty looking edge on this. The wonderful thing about a big gathered skirt like this is that you do get a chance, oh, see, you make a mistake when you're not paying attention. And then, there we go. You do get room for error. So if this top edge is not perfect, it's okay. You know, you don't have to measure it out exactly. You want to be pretty darn close. But like where these seams meet, sometimes they'll be a little off. That's okay. So this is a very big skirt, so move this business over here. I'm going to show you guys the stuff in a second. But here we go. So we're just going to take this the whole way around. And I'm coming in here with the tip of the iron and starting with the tip of the iron because it will help, not to burn yourself. It won't help you not to burn yourself, but it will help you to get it accurate. So this iron has tremendous goodies on it. So one of the important things to have in an iron when sewing is these steam holes here that are all the way up to the top. That means I can work with just this tip of my iron, which is going to be really important. Sewing without your iron is kind of like driving without a seatbelt, I guess. It's like just not a thing that you can avoid. You need the iron, you need to press, because the difference between a nominal, okay looking garment and a fantastical garment is your pressing. Hello, Lily. I am happy you have joined us. How is your corset going? I'm sure you guys have been busy, though. You probably haven't had a chance to work on it. But if you have, let me know. Be happy to see. I'd love to see you guys' progress. Very excited. Hello, Dana. Hi, Angie. I am so happy to see everybody has joined us today. I keep burning my fingertip. This iron is hot, baby. So Lily, how are you guys' sewing projects going? I know you guys had bunch of different projects going on, so if you have anything to update, let me know. Boy, this one camera I'm really washed out in today. I don't know why. I wanted to get this right. And I got the other camera going. All right, here we go. So after we take this all the way around, I'm going to snippy this thing. With serging, when you have an edge like this, you don't typically want to you don't want to cut it like that. This is going to be enclosed, so I'm not worried about it. When you have a serged end like that, what you want to do is take a big darning needle and go ahead and put that in through your existing serge area, and what that will do is not burn yourself, because this iron is hot. You move it without the steam. That steam's coming up and out, and it is just woo-wee, burning my thumb. Start with no heat, no steam, then move on to steam. Hey Steffi, I'm happy to see you have joined us. Very cool. This is so much fun being here on Facebook where everybody can join. I think it will be my new home. All right, you'll have to fill me in, Lily. But I do hope we get back to sewing soon, because I had the most fun working with you ladies. It was very, very fun. Well, I have fun anytime I have a needle and thread and some fabric. You know, it's all good there. All right, we are almost all the way around. So now comes a little measuring after this. I'm going to not burn my fingers off. See, that gives for real steam, this iron does. She is a good iron. All right. Now, you can see where it cooled. It's laying down good. We're all happy. So we have 1 inch elastic here, right? We have to get that, so we have to create a casing, which means we're going to need to fold this in enough for 1 inch to go through, plus a little for wiggle room. So let's see what that amount is right there. We folded that over, and that looks pretty nifty. Now this is one of my absolute favorite tools in my toolbox. I actually have several of these because I just feel like I cannot live without one of these. It is from Nancy Zeman. It is simply a measuring device that lets me kind of measure. You can measure from the inside to the outside. It clicks open and closed. It also does this cool circle thing, so when you're making circles. All right, so now that's the amount that we're going to fold over. So what was that? 1 and 3/8 looks like. You know, we could probably fold a little under, like 1.25. Realistically, let's see here. Yeah, let's do it there. That'll give us enough room. Yep. So see how I have enough room? I don't know if you guys can see that in there. Let me zoom that in a little. I'll zoom that in for you. Hold on 1 second. Boy, it can like focus on my arm really good there. All right. So you guys can see this. There is just a little bit of room in the top and bottom for that to go in. So we're going to go ahead and zoom back out. For anybody that has been watching before, like ISO, how is this alternative camera angle? Can you let me know? Rather than directly overhead, I have the camera coming from the left of me and kind of to the back. So I'm trying to figure out is if this camera angle works better for everyone rather than coming directly overhead. I know it comes in a bit at the diagonal. All right, now we can use pins here and go all the way around, or we can go straight to ironing. I'm going to go ahead and use pins. I usually go straight to ironing. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I have to get my pins. They are way across the room. So I'll pin and then I'll iron. And then after we do this, this is called a casing. Now, this, because this is a circle, skirt's going in like this. This casing's going to be a little weird. That's okay. This is a gathered skirt, so you saw how much fabric. Believe me, no one's going to notice any weird wonkiness whenever we are all set and done. So I'm going to move my mat off there so I can come back in here and pin. Move this up here so I don't burn myself. All right. It kind of is a lot closer. Is it good though? Like better? Yeah, you can see less, but I wanted to get in, and this lets you see what I'm doing. So that was kind of the goal, was so that you could see the close-up views. It's kind of something that I think I want to actually have another third camera that's the over top that I can switch back and forth, which I do have a third camera. I just have to rehook everything up. So just a little bit, just working on camera angles. All right. So I am measuring, and now I am going to pin up here this way, parallel with this seam here. This is where I'm going to press. So I don't want to press on top of my pins there. I don't want to make, because pressing on those will make dents. So every so often what I'm going to do is just put in a pin, and I'm going to let these in between areas, I'm going to let the fabric kind of decide where it goes. So what I like to do first is do this at the seams. This will kind of give me a little point. Yeah, and then I'm thinking I can put the third camera down where I have that picture right now. So, because although the picture is nice, kind of wastes some space there. So the third camera might go in there. I just have to make OBS happy with the fact that my third camera is a Logitech as well as my first camera, and it gets a little stinky winky. That's a technical term, stinky winky. All right, so I'm pinning it here so that I can kind of see where there's going to be a little bit of tweaking, weird gathering that's going to happen because of this circle. It's okay. So I'm kind of doing, I do what I call a split the middle method. So I'll go from here to here. So this is 1/4 of the way, then go back into the middle. And what that lets me do is if I'm starting to go diagonal, it prevents me from just keep going in one direction until I've got all of this sort of extra that's happening from this circle in one spot. This way I'm distributing it across the skirt until I can get it kind of, so you don't get one spot that's just really weird, and then the rest of the skirt is nice and smooth on that waistband. Now, mind you, I'm being really picky here because nobody's actually going to see this, waistband because it is located underneath the corset and the shirt. But I like things to be very proper, so I'm going to make it proper. There we go. So I'm pinning that in there. We're having trouble with sound pickup. Okay, let me see what I can do. Let me move my mic. What do you mean by sound pickup? Is there additional sound? Or is it just not loud enough? Oh, you know, is there, let me see here. So I brought my mic up and out. Is that louder? Is that better? I can make it louder too. If anybody else has want to let me know on my mic how I'm doing here. Am I better, worse, same? Because I thought I had everything else muted. Okay, I'll take care of that. Oh, I think I know what happened. Is that better? Let's see here. All right, are we better now? All right. Better now. Let's see here if I can get this turned up. Which button is it? Come on. Right. That should be. That is so weird because normally it works just fine. Oh wait, maybe I pressed a button on my pack. Let me see. My pack might have. Maybe my pack has something on it. Yeah, it's weird. It's not showing me being as loud as normal. Is it usually this low, or is it ISO, is this the same as it always is, or is it weird today? Okay, let's see here. I am sorry for the technical difficulties. I thought I twisted something. Let's see that. It's weird because normally I have this set up and it doesn't have any problems. Reset, no. Language, English. I can switch to a different. Let me make sure the main audio is set to the right. Oh, sorry. I know what happened. Okay, are we? It's probably really loud right now. All right, let me turn this down. Did it get really loud, everyone? Oh, no, I'm glad you told me. What happened is I have 2 different USB microphones plugged in, and it picked up, when OBS started up, it picked up the wrong one. So I am actually going to do myself a favor and unplug the other one so I don't have that happen again. Thank you for letting me know. No, I'd rather people let me know what's going on and solve the problem, technically, than go a whole stream realizing that I did not have my mic correct. All right. So I do appreciate that. Okay. If I'm ever low like that, please let me know, because like I said, I had forgotten that I had plugged in another microphone and forgot to unplug it from my computer, and OBS picked that one up first. It's amazing technology. Yeah, it would be a lot better. Because this mic is right here. The other mic is all the way over there under a table. I'm shocked it even picked me up at all, to tell you the truth. Okay, so we've got that middle split, and don't know if you guys can see, but there is like a little, see, there's a little bit of a fold in there, and that's going to happen because we are going in on a circle. We're making a smaller part go into a bigger part. So it goes up like this, and we're actually folding it under, and since the original pattern didn't curve back out, we don't have enough space, so we're making a smaller circle go into a bigger circle, so the bigger circle has to squeeze in to make the smaller circle work. So that happens on hems. Anytime you have a curved, if you have a curved hem, you have a curved top area, a waistband. So one way to avoid that is to do what's called a facing, which is basically a mirror copy of the pattern piece, which will let you, oh, I'm maxing out. I figured that. Okay, let's try it here, because I turned my volume way up on my sound mixer. Okay, are we doing better now? Because that volume went way up. I can turn it down. There we go. I think we should be okay. I'm not hitting in the yellow anymore. Yeah, I was hitting in the yellow. Boy, it's just not my day for microphones, is it? I love my sewing tech, but sometimes my other tech makes me crazy. All right, so there we go. That is there. All right, so we're almost the whole way around. Splitting the difference, kind of split the middle, split the middle, split the middle. Then what we're going to do is press this edge down, and then we can take the pins out because we won't need them anymore during sewing with that pressed down, or we can leave them in. It doesn't matter. Take them out as we go. All right. Here we go there. I have this one piece of hair that wants to just like go in my face, driving me crazy. My son always sees it and then he's like, Mom, you need to fix your hair. Okay, let me make it a little louder. I made a whole bunch of adjustments at once. Okay. No, you're not being picky. I just like turned a whole bunch of dials all at one shot. And it was a little bit aggressive fixing of the problem, I guess we could call it. So you and I are going to have to work out this mic thing until I've got all the levels right together, maybe separate, because I don't hear myself. So all right, now let's bring the iron back. So that's all folded over. Now let's bring this back in. There we go, and bring our iron in. And we start pressing. Now, what's cool about this iron, it does go off automatically, but it goes on in about 30 seconds. So we'll go from 0 to heat pretty quickly. I must sound like a Tefal commercial. It's like, buy a Tefal iron. But I am so impressed with this iron. So I am using just this corner edge of the iron. I know you can't see, but if I were doing it on this side, it would look like this. I'm just using the corner edge. And what that's doing is I'm not pressing over, or attempting not to press over, the area where the pins are, because that will press little marks into the outside of my skirt, and I don't want to press little marks in the outside of my skirt. Also, if you're not using pins that have either silicone heads like these do or glass heads, you will melt them and put them into your iron. I have melted many a pin head into my iron, so now I only use glass, metal, or silicone pins. So let's go back over here and let this one kind of let it do its thing. There we go. All right, and then just let it cool. Now it will kind of look a little jumpy until you actually let it cool. Once it cools, it'll kind of set in place. Don't love that little business there. I'm going to put a pin and take care of that because it's just sticking out. I didn't fold that under enough when I did it before. So I'm a very picky seamstress. I like things to be very exact, so I do tend to fuss with my garments a lot because I do love exactness. All right, a little pin in there just for good measure. There we go. All right, and when we do this pressing ahead of time, what this does, now we probably could have done this without pressing, we really could have, but what the pressing does is it gives us something that's already trained and flat in the area that we want it to be. So we don't have to fight with it in the sewing machine. It already knows where it wants to go. It will also help us to stretch that layer that doesn't want to fall flat because we are on that circle. So we get a lot of pluses from pressing. They're pressing pluses. And what I'm going to do is move this sewing machine just a little bit more because I really don't want to press the sewing machine. I'm worried I'm going to put that hot iron right up next to that plastic sewing machine and have a whole bunch of not happy me. All right. So if anybody has any questions on what I'm doing or any questions on something you're doing, pop them in the chat because we can talk about them while I'm in this middle ground here. I'm happy to discuss any sewing questions that you have. Now, coming up soon, I am planning some actual planned how to sew events. So I will be going over various things from reading a pattern to lots of beginner stuff, reading patterns, sizing. So I'll have a whole series. They'll be shorter, probably about 30 minutes, little live sessions, and you can come and ask your questions or, you know, see what you want. And then those will be available, of course, on the web page as a replay. I am also working on a brand new website and store to go with it. And I will have patterns there, hopefully very soon, if my WordPress site doesn't try to kill me first. All right, so here's what we can see. So now see how that edge, look at that edge. It sits really pretty. It doesn't want to fight us. So we've got it pressed. So it's a very simple matter of taking it through the sewing machine now. So let's get that sewing machine back where it needs to be as we play, mix up the stuff. And what I'm going to do here first is zoom out, and we're going to talk about threading and working on a sewing machine. So my sewing machine that I have here is a very, very inexpensive sewing machine. It is my travel lady. She does a good job moving around. She doesn't weigh much. And we're going to just get this so you can see. So we're going to discuss the parts of the sewing machine here real quick. So this here is just a stitch dial. It just tells us what numbers, number stitches. So like 0, 0 means a straight stitch. 0, 2 is a zigzag stitch, and so on. We have here, this is the buttonhole. Here this says the length of the stitch. So when we turn that on, then we go back and forth. And we'll do this at about a 3 or a 2.6. That'll work. This is the zigzag. So that's the width. It'll automatically do that on the width. If you are on a straight stitch and you do that, it'll just move the needle left or right. This is where our thread is. Down here, we're going to go ahead and take this open. This is our bobbin. I'm going to go ahead and take this blue thread out because I don't really want blue thread showing on this. And we're going to actually wind up a bobbin here. Inside here, this is the bobbin casing. This can actually come out, the bobbin casing can, and be adjusted for tension. We also have what's known as a free arm on this machine. If we take this off, this has a space underneath, which lets us get things, smaller things in there. There are ways to work without a free arm. I do it all the time with my other machine because my other machine that I use does not have a free arm because it's technically a quilter. So to put our thread in, we just push it on the spool holder and we put this down, not too tight. And we're going to do, so most sewing machines will thread similarly. They may not thread exactly the same, but they'll thread similarly. So it has on here 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to follow here. So I have put in a bobbin and I'm just going to put it down on there. We're not going to flip it over yet. So I'm going to take the thread through 1, into 2, into 3, around here and around this tensioning disc. And so what that tensioning disc is going to do is make it so this doesn't come off too quickly. Now, you've seen the little holes in your bobbins. A lot of people don't know what that little hole is for. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the thread through the little hole, push it down here, and push it over. That will activate the bobbin winder. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this thread for a little bit. I don't know why that's being ridiculous coming off the spool there. All right, and then I'm going to get a small scissors, small jobs, big job, big scissors. You have a lot of room for mistake when you don't follow that. And then we're simply going to run the foot pedal and try and figure out why this is not coming off correctly. There we go. I think that thread spool is just acting up. There we go. Now this will wind up and down, and we'll go ahead and wind our thread here. And you want to use an even speed when you wind your bobbin, whether it's slower or faster, just because even speed bottoms wind better. A poorly wound bobbin will make for a lot of tears, if you're me, or just unhappiness generally. Okay, it will make a point where it'll stop turning, but I'm happy with it right now. So we're going to push it back over, cut the thread, and now we have a bobbin. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. There is a direction typically to put it in. So if you look on, there's like a little picture here, and it means we're going to put the thread in this way. There's a little area where it'll catch, and then we're going to take it up and through there, and we're going to put the bobbin casing cover back on. Now we're going to unthread this, and we're going to rethread it back again. So it's going to go up, down in here, down through here, up through here. Oh, and we should have the foot up when we do this. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. It's this sticker. Here, let's see. Is the sticker part of the problem? A little bit. Then there is a little kind of loopy thing over the needle, and then we go down and through. That is not coming off correctly. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab a different spool holder. So if your spool is not of thread, does not want to work, either it is too big or in this case it is coming off, you can use one of these. They are so fancy. They literally just have a little spot here where the thread comes up. This one is ancient. They can be found many a place, and this particular machine can be a bit of a pain. So we're going to put it on here, and that should give me what I need. So we're just going to put it through this way. And that will let me get that off. Yep, now it's coming off correctly. So to use the auto threader, we're going to put the foot down. So when you put the foot down, you'll notice it's very difficult to pull the thread. And that's supposed to be that way. So we're going to put it through there, and then let me see if I can zoom in so you can see. I'm going to pull it through here. There's going to be a thing to push down. There is like a little catch. Now this machine's threader is not very good, but it'll kind of pull it to the back. We can go over that another time when I have the camera set up properly to be able to see that. So I am just pulling that through. Now, next thing we're going to do is take it up and through the toe. The toe is the spot in the front of there. And we're going to take it up through the toe. Yeah, different machines thread differently. And we're going to hand crank. So I'm going to hold this thread and I'm going to hand crank it up and down. And when I pull that, the bobbin thread will come up. And then we simply just grab a pin or a small scissors, anything, and we pull that bobbin thread up. Now we grab both of them. There should be a little, there's a little cutter on the back of most machines, and we're going to call these are called the thread tails. We're going to pull those thread tails out and through to the back. We want those to be out and through to the back because when we do it that way, then we know that they are not going to get sucked back into the machine and cause us a whole lot of drama. So we are going to sew this from the inside. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to sew it about, I'm just going to eyeball it about 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch from that edge. So inside of this foot, by the way, is called a walking foot. I can actually, I don't have my screwdriver with me, but if I take it off and show you guys, a walking foot actually lifts up and moves down. It has additional mechanics. And what that walking foot does is helps it so that the fabric doesn't swish or move around so much while we are sewing. It is not a requirement, but it does make life about a trazillion times easier. Yes, I use the word trazillion because I feel it's actually that much easier with a walking foot. So the walking foot usually lives on this machine unless I have a reason to take it off. All right, let me get settled into my sewing vibe here and I will show you guys. So we're just going to pick a spot. Normally I'd say pick somewhere either in a side seam or a back to start, just in case you have an off weird start. This circle, it's not going to matter. This is all gathered. So because this is a gathered skirt though, I am going to make the stitch length a little longer. Smaller stitches equal a little more bulk. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little red dot. There's like a little red line on my foot, and I'm just going to kind of use the toe of my foot and I'm going to sink that needle in there. I'm going to see where it goes. So I hand cranked that needle inside to see where it's going, and you guys can kind of see that's where that needle is there, and it's right on the edge of this. And for good measure we can put our elastic down and see, yeah, that's pretty close. I'll probably roll it. We can take it back up and we can move it a little bit over and just go right on the very edge. Okay, so I have the pins pointing so they're going towards the machine. It makes them very easy for me to pull them back out whenever as I'm going along. Those are just little side things that I do that just ease my sewing. So they normally tell you to back stitch right at the beginning of every seam. Well, here's a quick and easy tip. In a seam that's a circle, what you can also do as an opposition to back stitching is actually go back over your original stitches exactly where they were, and then from that point forwards you don't have to, that'll actually lock in the seam and it'll do the same as a back stitch. Now a little bit of hold. So one of the things that I have learned over the years, and this was actually from a ready-to-wear sewer that I learned this from, this is a fast technique, is to hold, doing a pinch and hold under. What this does, if you pinch and hold under here, so we're pinching and holding under, let me zoom out a bit so you can see that. Oop, wrong way. Okay, holding under like that. And what that's going to do is help prevent the bottom from feeding through as quickly as the top. So the feed dogs, which are underneath, they go like this. They kind of go. They go and they have these little jaggy edges and they turn, they push the fabric through, right? And so those feed dogs will carry the fabric a little faster on the bottom than they will on the top. So what I'm doing by doing this hold is making it so those stay together, so they stay more on target, I guess you could say. Hey Bruce, how you doing today? I'm on Facebook Live. Thought it might be easier for people to attend on Facebook Live. All right, and so as I get closer, see if I have my pins this way, I can just pull them straight back, and they can stab you a wee, but 'tis what it is, right? So you can see we're gonna start getting a little bit of wanting to gather. And we're going to let it do that. We're going to actually sew right up very close to this pin so that I can catch that little gather there, which is what it's fine. Let it gather. This is a gathered skirt. Now, what we didn't talk about is at first, right now, we are not going to actually close this circle. We are actually going to have to leave about, I don't know, like 3 fingers worth, like 2 inches opening to thread the elastic through. And I will use my very fancy and ancient method of the safety pin. Safety pin is always in one of my pin cushions for that purpose. People sometimes want to use fancy stuff like a bodkin or like other kind of business. My grandma taught me to use a safety pin. It works. It does its thing. They come in various sizes. So I like safety pins. I never have to worry if I have any. They're always in my sewing room. So safety pin, it is. All right, so we're just going on that edge there. And again, like I said, every once in a while we're gonna sew right up almost onto that pin, but not on the pin. We don't sew over pins. Sewing over pins can be, 1, dangerous. It can break your needle. I have seen needles break off and fly at your face. My grandma has actually had some go off her glasses. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Also, they can throw off the timing on your sewing machine. And don't even talk to me about what happens if you hit one in your serger. Whew. Especially on that blade, not cool. Don't sew over pins. Take them out. Every one of us has sewn over a pin by accident, but definitely try not to sew over pins on purpose. All right, so I'm just being careful and sewing. And I had to go in a little closer so you guys can see. Into the sewing machine. Any questions so far? So this is a very long waistband because this is a very full skirt. But it shouldn't be too bad to sew. Now, sewing on camera apparently takes some practice. So if my sewing is not 100%, if I were to zoom out and show you how I am sitting so that this camera can see into my sewing machine, yeah, it's a little crazy. Because I have this whole sewing machine at an angle, so it's very weird. Very, very strange and awkward. So see, there's a little gather right there. That's okay. That will happen on a skirt like this, with the way they made the pattern. Like I said, if I were doing this, it would have been faced, but I can see how the pattern called for it this way just because it made it easier. They also may have had a smaller casing, but I hate skinny elastic. Skinny elastic hurts. Drives me nuts. All right, so now we've left a little space here. You can probably do just a little bit more. And I am going to backstitch on that space. And now I'm going to hit the back button once. It is going to bring my needle up. Sometimes I keep safety glasses, especially if you're sewing with weird fabrics, like things like sequins. They really, really like to break needles and stuff like that. All right, so here we go. Let's zoom out a little and, oh, that's not the right zoom. All right, so we have now a casing. It's sewn down nicely. It's nice and smooth and flat. And we have a little opening here. Now, I'm just going to eyeball the elastic here. So I happen to know this elastic is ridiculously stretchy. So I'm just going to pre-stretch it a little bit. I use this elastic all the time. It comes from Wawak. And so I'm just pre-stretching it a little bit. Yep, see? Ironing before sewing just made that job instantaneous, and like there was no work to it. So I know this is just going to go up on my waist. So I'm going to take this elastic here. I'll pull it a little tight. I don't like things to be very tight on me, so I make it just snug enough to be comfy. I'll move around a little. You know, the elastic should stretch some, but like so it doesn't fall off. But I definitely don't like things to be too snug on my stomach. This particular, so I just grabbed it with my finger, cut off that business. Save your elastic scraps. They can be used for lots of stuff, like especially armor. All right, so now what I am going to do is try and find where I had the opening. Ah, there it is. Okay, so this is how I do it. Other people might do it different, but this is how I do this. This is how my grandma taught me, and it was always easy for me. So I'm going to take a pin, and I'm going to pin this elastic to the fabric just right here. Because what that's going to do is keep me from losing this into the casing. Because you can see the elastic's this big, and well, the skirt's a lot bigger. Now, since I'm left-handed, I'm going to spin this around here, and I'm going to make sure that this is not twisted, because if it is twisted, we can untwist it, but it will be such a pain. And I'm going to put this pin pretty deep into my elastic. I don't want to put it at the very edge because elastic does tend to fray. So I'm going to put that pin pretty deep. All right, we're straight up and down, right? Now, without, so as you can see, straight up and down, right? Now I'm going to bring it in, and then I'm just going to pick a side to go to. I go to the right because I'm left-handed. You may probably go to the left. And what we're going to do is inside of here, you'll be able to feel. See how you can see the safety pin going in there? Oh, in armor, elastic is great for connections. So those little bits, you can use them the same way as you would like nylon webbing. So like elastic also dyes really, really easy because it's nylon. So you can dye it in different colors to match your armor. So it's a great way. You can hot glue it on to a piece. I even used it on the back of like shields and stuff because it's just more comfortable. So I like to use elastic in lots of different ways. All right, so you can see that safety pin is in there, right? We can feel it. So I'm just gonna push on there, gather it, and then pull like that. And you'll feel it go the whole way around, and we'll start gathering. Now, when we reach to here, we've got that little seam in there. We just have to kind of work it through till we feel it come out the other side, because it will be a little fussy through the seam. Yeah, my grandma taught me to do the pinning it to the fabric. Always worked for me. She's always done it that way. And I think her mother taught her that. It's a home sewer thing. It just works, you know? Things that work are good. So we're just pulling this through here. Now see how pretty that sat in there? We had enough room that we're not fighting that. The elastic's not going to go in there. Now, the only problem with having a little extra room is the elastic can twist inside, and I will show you guys how I will make that not happen as well. I have a little trick to do a little bit of extra sewing and then nail down that elastic in a few places, and magically, so see what's going to happen? That pin will stop that from going in. All right, so we're going to turn. See, we're already we got a little twist in there. But I will show you how in the end we will make that not happen. This was actually a really good fabric to select because this fabric's going to gather up without being too bulky. This thinner fabric. They added in a cotton, I think, but I like this fabric. It's just making me happy. And I'm just distributing. So if it gets a little funky on your end there, that's okay. There we go. You're just going to kind of like, you can feel it through the fabric. You really can. And we're just distributing. We don't have to have it just right now. I'm just giving it down here a little bit because I know I still have quite a bit to go. And then what I need is a little extra. I'll get a little extra. I'll show you how we'll close this with a little extra scrap so that we don't have to deal with the, so we have a smooth area on the elastic too. Oh, thank you, dear. Well, I didn't know Facebook Messenger will do that. So see how we get like clumpy areas like that? So we just have to redistribute those down. So we are going to get some pretty big gathers in this skirt. So, but we have plenty. We'll get there. Like I said, it's a little old-fashioned the way I do this, but it works. It does its job. Low-cost materials, no specialty anything. The only thing you have to be careful about is if you get a little too crazy, you can accidentally open the safety pin inside, and then that's a little tricky to get it back closed again. You literally just have to like weasel it out, you know, like get it closed back again. So you just want to be careful. And when you do have very small seams, and you're going through a very thin spot, of course you'd want to use a skinnier safety pin. Sorry, I keep wanting to say paper clip instead of safety pin, and I don't actually know why. It's weird. All right, here we go. We're almost to the end. See, it didn't take too long. And now out we go. So now we're going to just pull a good amount of room out here. And then we will do the same here. All right, so now we have the dilemma of how to close this. So there's a couple of different ways to do it. I have a way that I learned in knitwear, which will leave this completely flat so it doesn't overlap. We could overlap it, and that's fine. I mean, in this case, it wouldn't hurt, but I'm gonna go get a scrap of fabric and show you guys. Actually, I got some muslin down in here. This works a little better when you have a knit, but that's fine. We'll do this. So what we're gonna do is just a little scrap, see? A little scrap. We're gonna sew it onto this one. We're gonna sew this to here using a very skinny, tight, or not very skinny, very wide, but tight zigzag stitch. So I am gonna move my machine. Yep, my foot pedal's all over the place. I am going to move my machine to number 2, which is a zigzag. I'm going to make it very wide, but I'm also going to make it very, very short, like a 1, okay? And then I am going to zigzag this onto this fabric. All right. Now, I know I haven't locked the stitches or anything, but you'll see what happens next. All right, so making sure that we are still correctly laid out, right? So see how I have the circle, right? We're correctly laid out. Yeah, you just need, I mean, you don't even have to like make it A-line. This one is A-line, but you could totally do it as just a dirndl style skirt, which basically means that it's just a big rectangle. You can take like 4 yards of fabric, do a gathered waist top, hem the bottom, and if you're really smart about it, you'll use the side that has a selvage on it. Keep that as the hem of your skirt, and then you can just quick fold that under one. You don't even have to do any major work, and boom, you've got a skirt right there. So just cut the area at the top of the fabric, but leave your selvage edge on the fabric. So this time we're gonna go here and we're gonna do it here. Now I'm gonna leave that in there and I'm gonna actually turn it back. I'm gonna leave my needle down, I'm gonna turn it back, and so I'm gonna do this a couple of times, and that's gonna just lock this in so that these are sewn to each other. And what that's going to do is give my machine something to hold on to so that I can sew these very, very flat. And by doing this multiple times, just going to go backwards there. So we have a really good seam here. All right. I usually try to do this with a scrap of knit, just because knit doesn't fray, but this will work too. So now I'm just going to cut off what's back here, cut off what's back there. Because that fabric strap allows us to get it completely flat, and it makes it so your sewing machine doesn't have a nervous breakdown when there's nothing to attach onto. So this way, see how it's smooth? No bulk. So it's a bulk-free way. So see, no bulk at all. And we can trim up those edges just a little. Like I said, if you use a little piece of knit, it's even better. But what that does is it makes it very strong. It gave your sewing machine something to hold on to so that it didn't suck down in, and it gave you a real clean finish. And I learned this from a knitwear designer she's a pattern maker, and she was talking about the best waistband application, and she did it that way. And I was like, sweet. All right, so now we're closed, right? Look at that, nothing. You can't even see or feel that in there. See? So yeah, it's brilliant. And there's always scraps laying around on the floor after you sew. So you just grab one of your scraps and just do it with it. It's like, oh, that was really smart. Now, before I get the urge to pull this and actually distribute the gathers, while this is mostly flat, I am going to go ahead and sew down this last business here. And I'm just going to make sure that I can feel my elastic. I'm going to turn this machine back to a straight stitch. I am going to make this stitch a little smaller, like a 2.5, just for good measure. Smaller stitches are stronger, but also take more bulk. And I'm going to sew right along that edge, being careful not to get my elastic inside. So I'm going to put it right back where it was, a couple stitches behind. And I'm going to pull that thread tail out. And so I don't have to do a back stitch. I've stitched over the other previous stitches. And now, if you see this thread tail, I did not cut this on purpose. This thread tail here, let me try and get that zoomed in. I'm going to show you guys. Woo! Sorry. Hope nobody gets motion sickness. All right. This thread tail here that I've left out, I am going to use that as for my eyeballs to know where that ended, because now I can see that, and I want to sew right exactly into the previous stitches, just like 3 or 4 stitches in. Hit my needle up and come back out. And so now I will have closed my area here without having any issues. There's lots. I just have these little things. I've been sewing for so many years. Now, something else we can do is you can then get your thread tails back to the same side to cut them off. So we can take our pin and we get just in the one stitch here. We can pull our bobbin to the front. Same. Look at that other one and do the same. And you can pull those to the back. So there's no little business hanging out of the front. Now this is a really fussy thing that I'm doing, but I like to do this because this is a practice that I do at the tips of darts. So anywhere where you know you're going to add too much bulk by back stitching, you can use this technique. So now you could technically knot these. I wouldn't, because on this I don't need to, but just so you know though, you could knot it, and this way we have absolutely nothing visible. See, those little snips will not be visible. Oopsie, sorry. They won't be visible to the front. See, all in the back. And by doing, you just pull that a little bit and you'll see that bobbin thread So let's see if I can get in there. It's difficult to see because it's the same color, but you can get your pin in there and you can get that bobbin thread to just come right back up and through. Boom. All of it's on that side. So this is more of a couture method than a ready-to-wear method, but I like to mix. Now, this one doesn't want to come back through to the other side because I have actually sewn into it, so we'll just have to snip that one. I should have done that a little bit before, but now we can snip these, and I'll just snip this close. Now, another thing that I do when I'm thread cutting is I don't actually do this snip down. So if you hold it tight against your fabric and you just slide it in that corner will cut it. And that means the tip of my scissors do not have the chance of cutting through my fabric because I do that sometimes. All right, now to distribute my gathers, I'm going to do something really, really, really light. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to move it around a little, stretch it all the way out. All right, looks pretty good. Now we will show you my little nifty little trick. So we have 4 seams in here, right? 4 points. It's distributed well. So what I'm going to do to prevent my elastic from doing its business is I am going to do what's called a stitch in the ditch. Yeah, tails are a problem. So I'm going to do what's called a stitch in the ditch. So you'll hear quilters talk about a stitch in the ditch, but it's just a friendly word for we're going to sew right inside of this line here. It'll make it not visible at all, hardly from the outside. So even if you had a smooth waistband, you can do this. And what it's going to do is prevent any turning from happening. So all I'm going to do is put this in the machine. Make sure this is on a straight stitch. Right? Yes, straight stitch. I am going to put my needle down first. By putting my needle down first, I can know for 100% that I am in the right place. And then I'm going to hope that I know where my foot is. All right, and then I'm just going to sew 1 or 2 stitches forwards, a couple stitches back. Now, alternatively, and I will do the alternative because I prefer this method, I am going to do a very short stitch. Very, very short stitches do not need backstitched. They're extremely tiny and go extremely close together. Very powerful. Oh yeah, I hate elastic that turns. I do this on my ready-to-wear stuff too. So then taking it down through with that little tiny stitch. All right, there we go. Now we're going to go out. Now we're always going to take the thread out into the back of the machine. We don't want to pull towards the front. That is going to possibly unthread your needle and make a whole bunch of mess. So we pull to the back. Now, clip my seams. Now from the inside, it may not be dead on. And that's okay, because it's the inside. So here you go. Nothing from the outside, a little bit on the inside. See how tiny those stitches are? They lock in. Now, especially once those gathers come in that elastic, not moving anywhere. So I'm going to do that on all 4 seams. And if I didn't have a seam there, I could still do it anyway, but I'm just going to use those seam areas because I know that's distributed. I know there's 4 seams and I know I can do 4 seams. So put my foot down, make sure my needle is in the right position. There we go. So hand turning the needle is a very common practice, and you know, higher end or long known seamstresses, they'll do that a lot. Don't be afraid to do it. Leave your thread tails nice and long when you pull out of the machine. Also helps your needle from unthreading. See, I don't even have to go. Small scissors, small job. Don't do this with your big scissors. Big scissors, big job. Big scissors make big cuts. Small scissors make small cuts. All right. Just double check this area looks a little funky wonky. There we go. All right, let's find the next seam. And now there's not enough space here. That won't twist anymore once I do all 4 of these. And then that will be our gathered waistband skirt. So this skirt gets a few extra things on it. I will be making some bias in another color, and I won't be doing that till I sew my top, because I'm going to use some of the green from my top for it. That is going, I don't know why I backstitched that. That was just silly. I was talking and didn't even pay any attention because that did not need backstitch. It's not going to hurt it, but it did not need backstitched. All right. One more to go, and then we're going to make sure that we clip threads as we go. That was just an extra busybody. I always clip as I go because if you don't, you'll miss something. Did you know that in fashion school, they actually take points off if there are threads laying around that should not be? So it is one of those things that is the bane of the fashion designer. Now, some machines have a little button for needle up, needle down, which is great if you have a machine that has it. Press the button. This machine, like I said, I'm showing you guys how I can sew on nothing and sew great stuff. This machine, like I said, $105 or $110. It's not an expensive machine, but I can get through, as long as I don't have to go through really heavy duty stuff, she does everything she needs to. All right, and then I stop when I see that cross seam for the waistband. All right. And yes, we waste plenty of thread. Don't try and be skimpy on thread. It's okay. All right. Did I do them all? Yep. There she is. Fantastical. Gathered waist. It will stay on. It'll do its thing. Like I said, this should be in the arsenal of every cosplayer, because so many of your garments, especially simple stuff that goes underneath armor and other things, is just a rectangle gathered in with a top like this and the hem. So this is a circle skirt though, so what I am going to do is I'm going to put this on the dress form while I make the top, and what that's going to do is let this skirt hang. So because of bias, so on the bias, garments can stretch, and just their sheer weight will stretch them out. And so I won't hem the skirt until I've let it stretch, because garments can stretch significantly. It's probably not as big of a deal on this one just because it is going to have these things that kind of, the garters that hold it up. But I want to do it correct because I'm going to show you guys how to do it correct. So that is kind of, I think, where we're going to stop tonight, because the next thing we're going to do is some cutting. We will cut the top, the Poochie top. Let me get my pattern envelope. It has like a nice Poochie top here. So this one. So we're going to cut that one and then sew it. That also, I believe, has elastic casing, which will get done just like we did here. And yeah, we're going to do that, and then we will get into the bustle, and then last into the corset. And that's it for tonight. Did anybody have any questions for me before we go ahead and... Well, thank you. I'm glad you learned. Like I said, the gathered waist is about as useful as it gets. And if you can get a solid gathered waist, like seriously, there's so many great pants. Like you could actually change a pajama pants pattern into a yoga pants pattern into a whatever. But if you can manage a gathered waist skirt, you have an infinite amount of summer skirts and that nice flowy fabric. There's so much you can do with just a simple gathered waist. All right, well then I thank everyone for joining tonight. I am so happy for everybody who showed up. I really am. This is so much fun and I love teaching everyone. And I will be scheduling my next event soon. We should be back on Tuesday. I won't be able to do a stream this weekend, but I'm hoping next weekend to actually add in a weekend day to work with you guys. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great weekend and a great evening. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.